Alright, today we're going to be making a blueberry cream ale. First off, I got 1 gallon of purified water boiling in here. Go over here, I got my fermenting bin with 4 gallons of purified water. Some of the ingredients is we got Belgium malt mixed in with some crystal caramel malt. Really good stuff. The Belgian malt's a little bitter, but the crystal caramel malt really evens it all out. Also, for the creaminess, we're using Brewcraft lactose, 4 ounces. We're going to be using a dry yeast today that we're going to sprinkle on top here once the cooking process is done. And 2 different types of hops. German tradition. This one has a little bit higher alpha at 6.9. So we're going to be using a second for the aroma and more of the taste. We're going to be using this one in the beginning for the boiling process for the bitterness. Everything was cleaned with Seabright cleanser. And for the blueberry flavoring, the Brewcraft blueberry concentrate. I'm going to pass this over to my wife so I can get cooking this. So I take the syrup, which is a mixture of Belgium with a honey. It's really good thick stuff. Just going to pour that in there. This adds all the sugar. It's going to turn to alcohol. We're going to be shooting for a 5 to 6% alcohol content on this batch of beer. It's actually my wife's idea for a beer because she doesn't like the stouts and the porters like I do. She wanted something a little fruity. We were going to go with a huckleberry, but they're out of season and the cost for huckleberries would be out of this world. So I'm going to stir this with my wood spoon so it don't burn. Let that mix in for about 10 minutes. The cooking process for this beer is going to take a little bit, so we might have to divvy it on up into 2 or maybe even 3 videos. But as that's starting to boil, we'll show you the beer that just got done carbonating. This one is a little bit bitter beer. It's a little darker ale, Belgium. I let this one ferment for just over 2 weeks, and then with the priming sugar it took about 3 weeks to carbonate. Then after that I let it sit in the cooler at about 32 degrees for a couple more weeks, and it brought out the bitterness, which I personally like. It's a good, heavy, full body beer. Yeah. Check on the syrup. It's starting to let out a really good smell. You want to actually. So it looks like just brown water right now, but it smells great. It smells like a bottle of beer in the house. It's going to smell better when you get the hops in and more of the malt. But it's all mixed up. We're going to add the lactose towards the end once we start cooling down the wort here. We're going to add it towards the end. This stuff says you can either add it in the actual cooking process or after it's fermented. Along with the blueberry extract, they say you can either add it in the brewing process or towards the end right before you get to bottle it up, or what we're doing over here is putting it in a little 5-gallon keg here and force carbonating with some carbonation. We actually just picked this up today from a local brewery store that sells wine and brewery equipment. So we go ahead and add the malt. Stir that in. All right. So this US Fugel has 4.2 alpha and 3.4 beta. Again, this is the hops that I'm going to be using first in the boiling, because the first part of the boiling, the cooking process, is going to really bring out the bitterness. I'm going to break these 2 packets up into 4 different time frames. I'm going to use half of this at first, wait about 15 minutes, add the other half, and then 15 minutes after that, half of this, and so on and so forth till it's gone. That should take up right about 45 minutes to an hour, which is the total cooking time that it's going to take to cook this batch of beer up. So this is the end of video 1. Video 2 will be showing when we add the hops and the lactose along with the blueberry extract, and we're going to be putting it in a fermenter, putting the yeast in it and sealing it up. So thank you for viewing, and see you on the next video.